and they felt they needed somebody more literary. And I really didn't know what that meant. At first I said, does that mean their ass is boring, or does it mean I'm dumb? Which one does it mean? Is it more literary?
Wow.
I've got to become more. Could I become more literary?
I think you're
by taking part in your trivia contest tonight? Because evidently I need it.
It might make you wiser. I don't know.
I thought I was literary as a son of a gun, Jay, every Saturday night, man. I'm playing Eye of the Tiger by Survivor for you. Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy. I know the Rick James produced it. That's literary as hell to me right there.
It really is.
Come on now. All right. You guys ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can tell I have no axe to grind on that at all, too, can you?
No,
literary?
No.
What?
Yeah, come on.
Literary as hell sitting right here. I know, like 5 words. Come on. Week 15, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Let's hit the band needs to play here, James. Can we cue the band? Oh, there it is.
The music still works. That's good.
Week 15. We start later on tonight. A gag-worthy NFL starter on this Thursday night. The Chargers and the Raiders. Backup quarterback city and teams with their collective seasons over. As it stands right now, the Raiders at home in Las Vegas. Tommy S. left his mark there last week, by the way, in that 3-0 win by his Vikings over the Raiders. The Raiders look to maybe go scoreless for a second consecutive week. That would be something. I am going to take the 3 points, however. Give me the Chargers on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders later on tonight in a game that nobody really cares about other than the betting line. Brent.
You're going to take Easton Stick to come out and cover that. What
is that, deodorant?
Easton Stick. Sounds like it, right?
It's
either
like,
a baseball bat or deodorant. I don't know.
Speed Stick.
But I did hear a lot about this kid. He rushed for 4,000 yards in high school. He rushed for 90 touchdowns. I mean, he's got all these crazy stories. This is the NFL. It's going to be a big awakening. They're in Vegas. I don't know if that's a big thing or not. But, again, you're right. There's going to be a very odd, low-scoring game. I'm going to take the home team. They not get shut out again 3-0. I look for the Raiders to win this one 6-0.
What do you got over there, Mike?
Can I preface this by saying I'm horrible at gambling?
You'll probably go 16-0.
I'm not very literary, though, Mike. I may not understand.
So I'm just going with O'Connell. And O'Connell's playing, right?
Yep.
All right.
Aiden O'Connell is in.
I'm going with them.
I like it. Hey, might as well. What the hell? I mean, again, all it is betting on a Thursday night of the NFL. Hey, Falcons and the Panthers coming up this weekend. It's the Falcons 3-point favorites. By the way, Atlanta looms on the Colts schedule here in the month of December. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 3. Give me the Falcons on the road in Charlotte. Brent Halverson.
Yeah, another not really exciting game here, but I think the Falcons got a little bit more firepower. I think they come out and they're going to go in Carolina and win this. Carolina's a struggling 1-12 squad, John.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and give me the Falcons 24-17. They cover that 3.
Mike, talk to us.
Well, I heard somebody say the other day they always like taking the home dog, so I'm going to take Carolina.
There you go.
All right, I don't know about this, but might Jake Browning maybe find himself as a starter in the NFL next year? Now, again, the Colts were just awful defensively. Hey, here's the screen game. We're not going to stop it. And basically the Bengals did that the entirety of the game and got the win over the Colts last week. They still have weapons, and that is going to be the difference. And the difference in the backup quarterback and the difference in the game coming up on Sunday. They get the Vikings in Cincinnati, lay the 3, and give me the Bengals again, which is bad news for Tommy S. and the Colts fans out there. Brent.
Well, you're right. I mean, the Jake Browning, he really has kind of come on pretty.
And by the way, he's not going to start next year.
He's not going to start next year, but he is putting a case in for himself. His bubble is likely not to burst like Josh Dobbs did.
Right.
Josh Dobbs over the last 3-4 weeks has not looked pretty at all. Tommy, I'm sorry, I'm going to against your team here. I'm going to take Houday. Give me the Bengals. I'll lay the 3 at home. Are you going to the game? Nope. All right.
He said, I had enough of that crap last week in Vegas.
Cincy -3 for me, John.
What do you got, Mike?
Well, I attended the game last week at
yes.
Cincy, and being a Colts fan, it was horrible.
Were you yelling screen? I
didn't even have it in me. I didn't even have it in me. It was disgusting to watch. I'll go with the Bengals, though.
I love this Broncos-Lions matchup because the Lions, as people tout them, it seems like in covering the spread, they have been much worse this season. I'm going to take the Broncos because the Broncos are getting 4.5 on the road at Ford Field. Give me Sean Payton and the Broncos with that plus 4.5 on Sunday. Brent.
That was an interesting call, John. I kind of looked at this a little bit like that, too. I think that with Detroit, they struggle on the road outside, especially if it's cold. Goff is not an outside cold player.
Yeah.
They're going back home. I think they're going to right the ship here a little bit. I'll lay the 4.5. I'd buy that half point to take it to 4. Give me Detroit Lions at home.
Mike?
Give me the Lions also.
All
Sounds
right.
good, Brent.
Yeah, the Packers were very disappointing for my colleague, Brent Halverson.
Oh, God.
Going back to Monday night right there. Jordan Love taketh, Jordan Love giveth. It was kind of a taking and a giving on Monday night a little bit, right? Just kind of a
it was
very
horrible.
up and down,
It just
horrible
looked bad.
effort right there. But I think you're going to get a Packer bounce back, -3.5. The Packers are the favorites at home. Lambeau Field against the Buccaneers lay the 3.5. And give me your team, Brent Halverson.
I like that, John. And, it was very, very hard to watch there. And Jordan just didn't look like he had it in sync at all. We were struggling without, of course, Aaron Jones. We haven't had him most of the year. Christian Watson's been a big issue for us not having him. He is still questionable. We got a lot of questionable guys on the roster coming up for that game. So I do think we're going to right the ship here on this one, too. I'll take the Pack, lay the 3.5.
What do you got, Mike?
Go Pack, go. I'll take
Yeah.
the Packers.
Like the call there, Mike.
And the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel said, hey, that loss last week to Tennessee can be galvanizing for our team. I don't know if that's galvanizing or not. Maybe so. I guess they're a little bit fortunate in terms of Miami this weekend. They're 8.5-point favorites at home against the Jets. The Jets coming off a win of their own in surprising fashion against the Texans. This scares me a little bit, but I'm going to lay that 8.5, and I'm going to think about a team that has been galvanized by a disappointing loss last week. Give me the Dolphins, Brent.
Yeah, this one, it's going to come down to Tyreek Hill, right? Is Hill playing? He got hurt. He came back in.
But if they're galvanized, it may not
If
matter.
they're not, if they're galvanized, that may not matter. You're absolutely right. You know what? I still think Miami's got too much firepower. That Jets team, it was 0-0 at halftime. They came out and fired away second half and looked pretty good. And Zach Wilson had a good game. He looked like an NFL quarterback. I don't think it happens 2 weeks in a row. Give me the Dolphins. Lay the 8.5.
What do you got over there, Mike?
Give me the fish.
Larceny Bourbon Locks, Ludo Zero Tequila Shots, Week 15, Whiskey Business. That's Mike, the owner. Brent Halverson, JMV here with our selections. The Giants, DeVito, and not Danny, but Tommy and his entire family. It was like they were trying to make this thing out to be an episode of The Sopranos, if you remember, this past week. But, man, the Giants did get it done against Brent Halverson's Packers. However, this week, even with the Saints, it's going to be much different. The 6 scares me a little bit. I'm going to lay that 6 and give me the Saints in New Orleans coming up this weekend, Brent.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 is a good number for this game. Because I think it's right there. It's 6,
DeVito.
7-point. DeVito.
Yeah.
Tommy Cutlets.
Oh, yeah. Chicken cutlets.
Chicken cutlets.
Was he getting the, they call sauce gravy. That's what they did in Goodfellas and The Sopranos is gravy.
Yeah.
Like
Tommy
meat
Cutlets.
sauce is gravy. Gravy to me is like something brown.
You're very literal. Your literary
very
is
literal
strong
over here.
man.
Literally
Strong.
literal.
You're
over
literally
here.
literal.
Yes.
But I think the Saints are going to get this. They're going to win by let's call it a touchdown. 23-16. Saints cover the 6.
Mike's got good red sauce here. What do you got, Mike?
I think I'll go with the Saints on that one myself.
How about the Titans last week? That surprise win against Miami that supposedly galvanized. I know that looks like Davis Mills is going to get that start coming up this weekend for an injured C.J. Stroud. The rookie was having a great season, dinged up last weekend. At least I saw from NFL Network that he is in line to start this weekend. Oh, that changes everything for me right there. In Nashville, 3-point favorites. The Titans lay the 3. Give me Tennessee in a situation that very realistically could help out the Colts a great deal. Brent.
Yeah, Tennessee, excuse me, they look good. And like you said, Houston is depleted. They lost. Nico Collins went down. And Tank Dell, of course, lost him for the season. C.J. Stroud, if he's not playing, I don't think they're going to be in this game.
You're not a Davis Mills fan, are you, right there?
No, I'm not a Davis Mills fan. I think what C.J. Stroud's done is very remarkable, and I would back
be
him.
able to do something. Maybe we're underselling Davis Mills a little bit right here.
The line's only 3 right now, so it's not anything crazy. And Tennessee doesn't blow people out.
They
They're
don't.
25th in the NFL in scoring, so it's not like they're going to get out there and pump a bunch of points on you. I'm going to take Tennessee, though. I like the way they looked, the way they played. I'm going to take them. Let's lay the 3. Titans.
What do you got over there, Mike?
Well, Colts need the Texans to lose if the Colts are going to keep making this playoff push. and I know
That's what you like.
I'm
Even
gonna
if you were
take the
disappointed
Texans.
with Gus Bradley's defense
I'm
last
going to
week.
take the Texans just because I know that Colts need them to lose.
Oh, here's my idea right here. Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. This is my dumb play of the week. Niners are the best team out there. Make no mistake. But you watch me get completely screwed over by this 12.5-point figure right here. On the road in Arizona, Cardinals stink, but the backdoor cover stinks even worse. I'm going to go ahead and lay the 12.5 and take the Niners, and I'm going to regret that next week. Brent Halverson, what do you got?
Big number against a bad team, John. I just don't think. Arizona, they're struggling. They're 3-10. Murray, he's got a little bit of flashback in him, but I just don't think they can handle this. I think the best team in the NFL is San Francisco 49ers. I think they win by 14 plus, so I'll lay the 12.5 with you.
What do you got over there, Mike?
I agree with Brent. I'm going to go with the Niners.
By the way,
and you.
I got a text from Rick Venturi, who's listening right now, and says, both Sherry and I come from a deep, deep Italian family. Never called it gravy. That's a Jersey thing all the way. And I mentioned Goodfellas, The Sopranos. Get in there and stir the gravy. Stir the gravy. Stir the gravy. So
Yeah, you do that well.
I do.
You do that well. I just got a
Thank you,
text
Rick
from Lisa
Venturi,
Ray.
by the way.
Lisa Ray's listened to us. Wanted to say hello.
Well, shout out to
She's
Lisa
awesome.
Ray. Lisa Ray is awesome. She's talented.
She is very talented. We need to get her on to have her
Yes.
sing to us. Maybe she could sing while we do some picks.
What's your favorite song that Lisa Ray does?
All of them.
Yeah.
Just all of them.
Does she do? They do a lot of covers of like 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant stuff too. Does she do any Natalie Merchant?
I would have to wait to see her reply on that. I don't know that
we'll wait on that right there. So shout out to Lisa Ray and Rick Venturi. See, we have incredible figures, big-time personalities listening to this show. It's Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, Week 15, Whiskey Business. Pendleton Pike is our location today. All right, get back to it. We got the Rams and the Commanders, SoFi Stadium in Southern California. 6.5-point favorites of the Rams. I'll probably regret this too, but I'm going to lay that 6.5 and give me the Rams at home at SoFi. Brent?
Yeah, this is an ugly game. I mean, it's one of those games that, what Rams team do you get, right? I mean, Stafford's looked good, though, as of late. Puka Nakua's doing some action. Cooper Kupp's actually finally back, it looks like. I'm going to join you there, John. I'll lay the 6.5. Give me the Rams.
What do you got over there, Mike?
I'll agree. I'll take the Rams.
All right, Cowboys and Bills. I love this. I think the Bills all of a sudden have found something. I don't know if it's the effect of not having Ken Dorsey now for a number of weeks, a month plus, not being the offensive coordinator. But they're playing a lot better, spreading it around a little bit. Cowboys, however, if the Niners aren't the best team working right now, the Cowboys would be the best team working right now, I would suggest. So 2-point favorites at home in Buffalo or the Bills. I'm going to take that too and give me the Cowboys on the road. I was going to give you a good song lyric right there, but it didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, let's move on then. I'll take
Because I'm long and I'm strong and I'm down to get the friction on. Do you know what song that is?
Yes, I do.
Baby Got Back.
That's it, yeah.
I'm
So
long
not really
and I'm
up in my
strong. It
rap.
has really nothing to do with this whatsoever. So,
But your knowledge.
I regret saying
your
it.
literal,
Now. I do. I regret
literacy,
saying it.
Right?
What do you got?
Hey, this game right here, this is the one that I think the biggest on the slate, right? We saw Buffalo go into Kansas City and win last week. Again, controversial there towards the end. But Dallas Cowboys, they're playing some of the best ball out there. They're right up there. I mean, this NFC is going to be just a great thing to watch come playoff time. I think Dallas goes in there and gets this win. They're going to get your +2. I'd buy the point, get them +3 because it could be a field goal game. I'd look to see more of a shootout, though, but I'm going to take Dallas with you.
What do you got, Mike?
I think I'm going to go Hoyle on that. I'm going Buffalo Bills. I think they need it.
They need
Buffalo
it.
definitely
No
needs
question.
it to stay in it, and
the Colts don't want to see Buffalo get back in it. So that's one thing.
I don't know if Dallas is going to go up there. It's going to be cold in Buffalo. Bad weather.
It is Buffalo, right? I don't know what the weather's supposed to be.
I think they're going to crush them, actually.
All right, Eagles and Seahawks. I can't lie, and I have nothing against him, but I think it's kind of funny when Nick Sirianni whines and kind of cries around. However, that won't be this weekend. They're 3.5-point favorites. Philly on the road in Seattle. Lay the 3.5, and there's going to be a smiling, not crying Nick Sirianni after this Week 15 matchup, Brent.
Yeah, they've got some things to work out. They have to right their ship, as we say. And Seattle, they've lost 4 in a row. Geno still banged up, so we'll see what he's coming back with him. I think Philadelphia is going to go in there and get the win. I think they cover this, always by the half point, lay the 3.
What do you got, Mike?
I agree. I think Philly's going to get it right this week and get back on track. And
Man, the Ravens. You know, I've undersold the Ravens so far. I've talked about two NFC teams being the best, and the Ravens have certainly been right there near the top, certainly in the AFC to this point. 3-point favorites on the road against Jacksonville. Things look messy for the Jaguars right now. I'm going to lay that 3 and give me the Ravens on the road in a nice matchup. Brent Holverson, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling here, John. I'm sitting there looking. I've got too much chalk I'm taking. I got too many road favorites going on here. But I'm with you. I think Baltimore Ravens, again, they're 10-3. They're looking really, really strong. They look like the team to beat in the AFC to me. And Jacksonville, like I say, a lot of questionables going on there. I'll take Baltimore, lay the 3.
What do you got over there, Mike?
I agree. Baltimore's been tough. Lawrence still out for Jacksonville?
No, he's in.
He's in.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he was in last week, too, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I was going to say he might be a little gimpy.
Yep.
So
I think he's good. They're in a spot right now. So
I'll take the Ravens.
It seems like if there's a team out there that's kind of spinning a bit out of control that you felt really good about 3 weeks ago, that is that team, Mike. There's no doubt about that in Jacksonville. All right, the Chiefs and the Patriots. There's another team that's spinning out of control, and here's how you can tell. You can tell the season's not going according to what they thought when everybody collectively starts crying and whining over something that was blatantly obvious, and that was the offsides on Kadarius Toney that ended up taking away a scoring play that, by the way, was a spectacular play call and a design, but it took it away nonetheless. And then Kansas City is just not having the type of season they thought, but they're still right there. And they're still plenty good enough on the road to beat New England and Foxborough. Lay that 7.5 and give me the Chiefs without the whining and the crying from the coach and the quarterback this week.
This is one of those games. It's scary, right? That hook, that 7.5, that hook is on there. Kansas City, I mean, they've lost the last 2 games in a row. You got to think they're going to get this one right. But the Patriots, they're battling for Belichick's life right now, apparently. But they came out and looked good last week for an ugly game. They came out and fired away. I can't go against Mahomes. They don't lose 3 in a row. If they're going to cover, that's at half point. Again, buy it, take it to 7, look for the push. Kansas City, give me Kansas City on the road.
What do you got over there, Mike?
I'm going to have to agree with that also. I don't think the Chiefs lose 3 in a row, and I don't care for Belichick, so I hope he takes it.
Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Our final for week number 15 will be the one on Saturday, and that is a must-win for the Colts. I understand this fully. The Colts aren't simply put good enough for me to be able to say, you've got to control and you got to do. I understand that. They're just not good enough. But in their home environment against this Steelers team, even with a cleared from concussion protocol TJ Watt, and you better have enough. See, 2 weeks ago we went from, hey, this is a really nice story and nobody ever thought it was going to be this way, to start having some expectations. And mind you, I completely understand why you lose to Cincinnati on the road, but defensively it was a joke. I will not understand if you lose to the Steelers in that fashion at home on Saturday, when you know, and everybody knows what is all on the line, and then you factor in that the Steelers suck. So with all those variables together, I am going to go ahead and take the Colts in this matchup on Saturday. 1.5-point favorites, I believe, at home.
That is correct.
As of right now.
That is
Lay
correct.
that 1.5 and give me the Colts, and if they don't, I'm going to be griping and complaining coming up on Monday. That's a guarantee from JMV.
I can see that happen for sure. I can see that griping and complaining coming. But, however, I think you're right on. I think this is a field goal game. It's a 23-20 written all over it. I want to take the Colts here to get that, be on the right side of that 23. Colts cover the 1.5. John, I'm with you.
Mike, what do you got over there?
I think the Colts put all the ugliness behind them from last week and come out strong this week. Take it.
Were you pretty disappointed in Cincinnati?
They just couldn't get out of their own way.
I've gone to Cincinnati so many times and left, going back I-74 disappointed as a Reds fan. It's almost like a rite of passage.
Yep.
You just go, I'm disappointed.
I'm with you.
You hope that, the Rosas is good, or you have a nice big boy or something like that, right?
Hoping for, the 10 or 12 strikeouts, get you a free La Rosa.
Yeah, something like that. That's what you're hoping for right there. Hey, our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Let's look this over here before we hit a break, Brent.
Speaking of Luna Azul Tequila Shots, I didn't get my shout out for the fantasy playoffs starting this week, John.
They do.
There's a good receiver out there that was out there in most leagues that he's turned it on the last 4 games. He's become Lamar's main guy.
Yeah.
That's good old Odell Beckham Jr. So
Oh, yeah.
if you're looking for a receiver, go out and get yourself some of that Odell Beckham Jr. He's back.
By the way, I don't think I mentioned the final score. 22-16 is what I had for the Colts. 22-16. And we did not go over last week. We were tremendous slouches.
It was rough. We were both rough last week, John. I think we were both 5-7-1. I think it was 5-9-1.
5-9-1.
Yes, that puts.
I used to be 6 feet tall. I think I'm 5'9" right now because I'm shrinking. Are you shrinking?
Not yet.
I may be shrinking. Hey,
Still
Bill, you
look
think
good.
I'm shrinking? Have I shrunk since you met me years ago? I think I am. You know, I remind myself of a beer can. You ever crush a beer can from the top to the bottom? That's what's happening right now. When the can kind of goes out and then gets shorter, I'm like a crushed beer can. Why is that?
It's hard to explain, John.
I just don't.
It's
I
hard
need to
to
be more motivated, don't I think.
Well, your
Yeah.
literacy is really stepping up. Your motivation level, we'll build on that a little bit.
I'm literate as hell right here. Hey, what you got coming up this weekend again, Mike?
We have a Groove Smash on Friday.
Like it.
And darn it, I just blanked on the Saturday band.
See, that's a good name of a
it's
band.
Lit-
Darn it, I just blanked on the Saturday band.
I had it. Lit Soul Band comes in
I
on
like it.
Saturday. So
Hey, if anybody takes that band name idea, darn it, I just blanked on the Saturday band, I'm going to be mad about that. I want a little bit of the money out of that, too. What do you got?
Well, I actually wanted to chat with Mike. So they just recently opened up. Well, not
Yeah.
recently now, but Smashed in Irvington.
Yeah,
right? How's
Smashed.
that
Oh,
going?
really?
It's going
Smash.
great.
Well
It's going
done.
great. Yeah. It's been fun. You know, different, little different from the bar
Sure.
life. And
Irvington is a great area.
yeah, we're
You know,
right.
I've never done a show over there. Hint, hint. Never. In Irvington.
do one from Smash.
I'm telling why what? Yeah, I've never done a show in Irvington.
You know,
It's
we're
weird.
we're right next to the theater. Our landlord actually owns the Irving Theater, and
Wow.
you know that stage.
Yep.
I'm told there's pieces of it that were the original stage that Elvis played on at Market Square Arena. So,
Wow.
That's outstanding right
That's a pretty
there.
cool little
Over there.
tidbit.
Yeah.
Be a good
Well,
time.
yes,
Awesome.
I've never done a show in Irvington. I think it's about time we do that. It's Smash.
Well,
in
if
Irvington.
you could bring the sunshine and the warm weather back, I think that'd be great. But
Oh, look, yeah, there we go. Look at it.
We are definitely coming for that. Mike, thanks for having us
Thank
too,
you.
man.
And you get a double dip tomorrow down at
Yeah, South Side.
another
What do you
location.
got going on the South Side this weekend? Can you tell us that?
we have live bands over there as well. The Big 80s on Friday.
Ooh, the
Oh,
big-
no,
oh.
they're on Saturday. Phil
Okay.
Purley and the Enablers is Friday.
Yeah, the big 80s.
Yeah, if you're
I could stay right there.
you're familiar with the Wombleys.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Phil Purley with the Wombleys.
Oh, cool.
And
That's awesome.
He's got about 5 different band variations, so he'll
Well
be there
done.
on Friday. And Gina, she does Killin' Karma and a few other bands as well, and she'll be there with the Big 80s on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, this audience loves whiskey business, whether it's down on the South Side, where we'll be tomorrow for our Bud Light Blue Friday, or up here off of Pendleton Pike on the northeast side and the location of whiskey business. That's Mike. Mike, thank you very much.
I want
Appreciate
to
it, my
thank
friend.
you guys. Thanks, Brent, for
Thank you.
bringing in your brands and really
Appreciate it.
taking care of us and helping. JMV,
And you guys
it's
make
always
one
great to
hell of a
see you.
Bloody Mary, by God. Let me tell you that.
Well, thank you very much.
You got it.
I'll
Thank
try
you.
to see you over there tomorrow night.
You know
on the
that.
South Side.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Brent. Brent's going to stand by. Jeremiah Johnson was in the thick of it last night in Milwaukee. The lowdown, the breakdown, and the sound of Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers TV, Valley Sports, Indiana. He joins us next.
Puccini's Pizza, pasta, Puccini's, Puccini's Pizza.
whiskey business. Pendleton Pike, Oak Landon. We would love to see you up here. Brent Halverson, JMV. Devin's the on-site engineer. James, back of the studio, freaking out because stuff wasn't working. But James, Cam, and the gang came together and got stuff working once again inside the lounge via YouTube Live or 239-1070. Thank you very much for listening and being a part of this show today. Pacers lose by double figures. Giannis goes for 64, a franchise record. And you're going to ask me, why are you so excited? I'll tell you right now, and joining us from Pacers Television, Jeremiah Johnson is with us. Hey, before we dive into last night and get to where this goes from here, I'm with listener Michael Smith. If the Pacers don't hand out many basketballs when the Bucks come back and play on January the 3rd, it's a missed promotional opportunity. I would agree with that. Many basketballs coming up on the 3rd when the Bucks are in town?
With the inscription of Oscar Tshiebwe's first point.
Like the date and the time of it that happened. That's spectacular right there. Hey, I did want to ask you this. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, JJ. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I saw that tweet actually last night as well and shared it with some friends. This is one of those times where the app they formerly called Twitter, fans can provide some pretty good comic relief. So I have enjoyed some of the things I've read over the last 24 hours. Hey,
was there any thought in your mind? Because I think some said, is Rick pulling the plug on this game a little bit earlier? I mean, it was above the 5-minute mark, below the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. And I'll have to admit, I initially did kind of wonder if he was, and even more so, I kind of wondered if he did that maybe thinking, I don't want to see Giannis really get a franchise record on our dime right here. Did you ever think at the moment when he yanked the starters that at all was on his mind?
I would say not the second. I don't think it had anything to do with Giannis at the record. I think the reason was probably big picture in mind and with where this team has been over the last couple weeks, and to simply not put any unnecessary tread on the tires, if you will. Let those guys get a little bit of rest. Yeah. And also let some of the youngsters get some game opportunity, knowing there would probably still be a couple of minutes that they would play against the Bucks' best players, but also not just give them the final 90 seconds of a game, but let them go out, work up a sweat, get some real NBA action, because they sit there and watch a lot of the time. And you probably felt with 5 or 6 minutes to go in a 20-point deficit, it was just not going to be the Pacers' night. So at the beginning, I don't have anything against the Bucks keeping their guys on the court, but I think it was the way that they treated from the 5-minute mark to the 3-minute mark, calling a specific ISO play to get Giannis the ball repeatedly. That's where the bad feelings kind of started. And as we have this conversation, I'll try to share everything from my perspective and not, speculation or things like that. But initially there was a little bit of disappointment with the way the Bucks were handling things once the Pacers made their subs.
I would agree with you. I wasn't mad at all that they left the starters in. I just thought that it was their first-year head coach kissing ass, to be honest with you. That's what I thought. I thought he's just smooching their rear end right now. That's what he's doing. But again, that could be wrong. But that was my thought when he left them in, and that didn't bug me. But I was excited about it because I felt it was clear. The Pacers had such a profound effect in these first two wins, and especially the one last Thursday in Vegas in that semifinal, that's the reaction. One of the NBA's elite on a Wednesday in December in their home gym. That was their response. And JJ, beyond losing by 14 and beyond being embarrassed with Giannis putting up 64, that is to me, that's a great moment for the Pacers as a part of this rebuild right now, because that's the type of effect they have had on one of the NBA's elite. I love that. I love it. I love that it's a rivalry. I hope it turns into a rivalry. And, of course, winning and losing is what it matters, and you want to win. But I thought last night was well beyond that with all of the reactions of the Bucks from start to finish.
I think you hit it exactly, and that's what I was thinking today. And I talked with both Miles and Bruce Brown at practice about that exact topic, about especially Miles. He's been through a lot of different eras with this team, and in the last few seasons, the Pacers would show up to play a team, and the team would maybe choose that night to rest some of their players, or maybe they wouldn't take the Pacers seriously. And Indiana would have some wins over the last couple of seasons that maybe they should not have, just because a team would not take them seriously. That is not happening anymore. And so you had the in-season tournament experience. You have some of the other wins to start this season. You have the attention that Tyrese Halliburton and company are getting. And now you have to know every single night, even on a Friday night against the Washington Wizards, they're going to be ready to play the Pacers. So you can't let up there. You're going to go then play the Timberwolves, best team in the Western Conference right now, on Saturday night on the second half of the back-to-back. You better be ready, because they are not going to overlook the Pacers. And so I think that's a really good thing, and specifically with that Bucks rivalry, we'll need to see this, continue in terms of a back and forth over the next couple of seasons, maybe even a playoff series, to officially say that. The Pacers got the 2 wins here, and they got the 1 win at the end of last season. But you need a little bit more on the Pacers side of the ledger to really call it a rivalry. Yeah. But I see all the makings of one that is going to be one of those 4 times a year that they'll play, 5 this season. It's going to be the ones you want to be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. You want to tune in on television, because there's going to be some added intensity, some added juice from the opening tip, and we saw that last night for sure. It wasn't just after the game. That was one of the most intense first quarters of just a December NBA game that I've seen in a while.
Well, you get the forearm shiver and then the lean into Tyrese Halliburton, and you get that, and then obviously the officials dealt with that. But the half-ass grabbing of the head and, hey, everything's okay with Halliburton, that from Giannis was lame and fake as they come right there. And, again, I love that. And you're right. The Pacers have to back it up by consistently winning. But it wasn't lost on me last night that a team I felt so disrespected by those first 2 losses, and especially the one last week, with a myriad of reasons, whether it was, Tyrese Halliburton pointing at his wrist, like, Damian Lillard did, and that's his signature or whatever. It had an effect on the Bucks. And I'm telling you what, JJ, we've been looking for that around here for a long damn time. And that's how I view that as good.
I actually agree with you 100%. You want to be the team that is in that upper echelon. And there's a clear marking in the NBA, and let's just say the Eastern Conference. If you ask the average NBA fan or even expert, they're going to give you the Celtics, they're going to give you the Bucks, they're going to give you the Sixers. They'll throw the Heat in because of the success that they've had. That's a little bit of a fraternity. And those guys, they don't want any new teams coming in. And so while the rest of the basketball fans, they think that the Pacers story is cool, Pacers fans are loving what they're seeing of this up-and-coming Pacers team. Those teams that are at the top right now, they don't want to let them in. And so you could see that what happened in Vegas, what happened a few weeks ago at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, that did not sit well with the Bucks. And in some ways, I'm okay with that, because to be the team that's considered in that upper echelon, you've got to beat them repeatedly, and you've got to get knocked down, and then how do you get back up? And so that just adds more fuel to that game, January 1st in Milwaukee, and then the following 2 nights later, January 3rd. There are some games both teams will play in between, but I can tell you what, I'm already excited to see those.
Well, and I will say this, even with the first 2 wins in that loss last night, the Pacers aren't at a position where they're, like, ready for this constant, right? They still have a lot of holes to fill, a lot of growth to be done, a lot of maturation, what have you. But the simple fact that it's happened, and then somebody else out there that's good has noticed what is going on here. I think people sometimes forget how big of a deal that is. And, JJ, with your post-game show, and I could tell you were doing this on the fly because you had all that info evolving right behind you, that had the feeling of some 90s stuff right there, which I think my age group, above and below, that's the golden era around here that we all embrace.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Pacers-Knicks when you think about the 90s and some of those rivalries, and I have no idea what it was like to broadcast some of those games, but it was an intense couple of minutes, knowing that the game broadcast was going to wrap up, seeing what happened on the court, a little bit of frustration between staffs, and then to see Giannis run out to the tunnel. I tried to observe what I could, but it was really tough in the 60 seconds or so between the players going back to the tunnel and then me having to stand on the court and try to at least, show the fans what we had and let them know this wasn't your average post-game scene. I mean, so many times it's handshakes and high fives and you wrap up the night and you show the three-pointers and the dunks. This was completely different. There weren't a lot of those happy moments between the two teams, and obviously people have seen some of the footage as well. So it was a little bit unusual that nothing can prepare you for that, and to have that first segment just by myself, some people said catch your breath, because the emotions can get to you a little bit. It wasn't like I was running back and forth, but I had a lot going on, and I at least wanted to make sure that the viewers knew that it was an unusual scene, and we're there to basically be the eyes and ears for those at home that are not there. And so I just wanted to let them know at least something was going on.
Jeremiah Johnson of Valley Sports Indiana, Pacers TV on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did anybody ever inform Giannis that one of the numbnut Bucks staffers took that basketball that he was looking for? Anybody ever even say anything? Because he looked like an idiot. He looked like a complete idiot.
Yeah, I don't know what was said to him when. I do know he did go to the press conference room significantly later than normal. In fact, as we left the arena, which is usually about 40 minutes or so after a game would conclude, he had still yet to go to the press conference room. And so he certainly had enough time to get his thoughts and to get the full story by the time he went in there. And he was still adamant at that point that he did not have the correct basketball. So I don't know all the details about that specifically. We know he cares about the game ball more than I ever thought he would have. He gave about a 3-minute answer when asked if he had the right game ball, and went on and on and on and on. So he still cared about it significantly after everything took place.
What did so the Pacers have to go to Dave & Buster's after the game and win a ball for Oscar Tshiebwe? How did that work?
I don't know. I do know through Rick Carlisle's press conference that there are a couple of basketballs. So I have a feeling the mementos from the game, there's the backup game ball. There might even be a third. And maybe that was part of the issue, that at least Giannis didn't want to look as selfish. So he did say later that it was also about Damian Lillard getting the basketball, which I don't think was what he was really upset. I think he came up with that a little bit later personally. But I think there might be 3 game balls that will exist for posterity's sake. Oscar Tshiebwe will have one. Damian Lillard will have one. And Giannis will have one, and it will probably be a mystery that only a couple people know which one was the actual ball used during the game.
Can we give Marcus Johnson and Elisa Byington one, too, and tell them to shove it up their rear ends? Can we do that?
I'll let you comment on that, but they do get a little bit of a free pass through all this. I was frustrated and disappointed to hear what they had to say. And if nothing else had happened, that would have been one of the big stories, similar to the Wally Zerbiak from a year ago. I guess I just don't understand. I mean, I am in a similar position to that. Talk about teams that the Pacers play 82 times a year. And some of the things that they said, or that he specifically said, I've never once thought to say into a microphone. It seemed like it was personal, which I have a hard time.
Yeah, and she just giggled too. She giggled. He was just standing there. No, he wasn't just standing there. He forearm shivered and leaned into him. He wasn't just. Yeah, it was stupid. It makes me want to make fun of him even more.
Well, that's exactly what your role is here. So I'll let.
It is. Yes, that is my role. Yes.
And I won't argue with you.
Yeah, James, reach out to Marcus Johnson and see if Mark wants to come on the show. I will say this about him, though. When all that stuff went down, and I'll say this to close, he did say, Giannis or somebody needs to get him off the floor because he's ruining what was a great moment. And, of course, he called, he referenced Tyrese Halliburton as, being a wannabe superstar. Last night for Giannis, with how things went down in the final 5 minutes, that was a wannabe 60-piece right there. That was a wannabe 64. It was, with the way things went down. You can look at it, to me, you can make a connection the same way as you would in saying that outwardly regarding Tyrese Halliburton. That was a fake 60.
I was surprised by all of the actions and not thinking that he would care so much about that, having obviously never gotten to 50 and know if if the record is close, maybe that was something that was very important to him. So obviously it was more important than I thought it would be. I did actually, enjoy the fact that Ben Shepherd hits a few threes. The deficit's to 10. He'd already taken his shoes off, and then he had to put them back in.
It was Shepherd's fault, yes.
Yeah, I don't like that he was able to get to 64 because of that, but I did find it quite comical that he had to go back into the game.
Jeremiah Johnson, Bally Sports, Indiana. He's got the Wizards and the Pacers coming up tomorrow night in Washington, at least for the time being, until they move to Northern Virginia. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, outstanding work as that evolved last night. Very enjoyable. I thought that the after game was much more enjoyable than the end of game that I had to view, we had to watch. But job well done as usual, buddy.
Oh, and Chris and Quinn called it early in the fourth quarter. I mean, that was one of the longest games in terms of the clock that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Not just the number of free throws, but then the length of time it takes Giannis to actually shoot a free throw. I mean, it was a long night. By the time we're doing the postgame show and we're recapping some of the first quarter highlights, I barely remembered them. So it was one of those nights. You play 82. The Pacers playing 83 this season. Some come and go, and you'll forget about them. We won't forget that one for quite some time, and we'll especially remember it on January 1st when we're celebrating the new year back in Milwaukee.
Jeremiah Johnson of Bally Sports Indiana, Pacers TV on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We'll be watching tomorrow night. Job well done.
I appreciate that, John. And, 2 weeks in a row, the entire NBA is talking about the Pacers. So there are worse things. You prefer it to be probably the kind of topics and conversations last week. But everywhere you go, people are having an opinion and paying attention. And I do think that this team, mostly on the court, is doing the kinds of things that are opening eyebrows. They're getting this the message out there about this team around the NBA, and I think it will only continue.
JJ, appreciate you, man. Have a great broadcast tomorrow.
All right, thanks, John.
Whiskey Business, Pendleton Pike. Me, Brent, other side, Mike Chappell, top of the hour, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
We're the Hellsberg Wedding Band, and this is for the lovers out there. Ooh, gonna propose riding on a horse, wearing a tuxedo, shirtless, of course. That Hellsberg diamond will dazzle her eye, and she'll say yes, well, then she'll cry. Now put your shirt back on, guys. For over 100 years, Hellsberg has been customizing engagement rings of the highest quality. Plus, with Hellsberg's transparent pricing, you know you're getting the best price. Find her ring at a Hellsberg store near you or at Hellsberg.com.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fun.
Here, Brent.
Hey, we're still here for another hour plus here at Whiskey Business on Pendleton Pike. Come on in and get some samples if you're near. Next Thursday, show will be at Britton Tavern.
I haven't been at Britton Tavern in like 10 years.
Well, this is a good time to get back. And so that's the Fishers Noblesville line right there.
Can you still pick up a lot of chicks there?
You can, yes.
I can't.
I can't.
I'm kidding, like normal other people.
I'd imagine so.
It used to be like a chick pickup joint, right?
It used to, yeah. I mean, it's always a good spot to go and meet friends. How about
friends,
we just say that?
yes.
Go meet some friends there, John.
Friends.
And have some cocktails while you're at it.
Yeah.
Too. They got some great cocktails. So, we might get our buddy Tom Schrepperman who's listening.
Tom, shout out.
He said he's going to come out and join us one of these days. Hopefully we'll get him up.
I'll bring my Voight basketball for Tom.
Yes. He liked that tweet. He said.
I'm glad he did, man.
Some action. Oh, and Lisa Ray. She does know what you asked.
Natalie Merchant and 10,000 Maniacs?
She does know it. She said yes to that.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Lisa. I want to hear Lisa do Carnival just for me.
Just have her anything.
Carnival?
Her voice is just spectacular. It's awesome.
Brent Alverson with me, Whiskey Business, Pendleton Pike, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna's Old Tequila Shots. R.I.P. to one of the all-time greats in George McGinnis, somebody that was around and covered every single aspect he did while also now covering the Colts for so many years. Mike Chappell will speak on behalf of that, and he joins us next.
911, what's your emergency?
Por favor, necesito ayuda. Estaba orando y creo que me va a pegar otra vez.
and roll and making better films.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Whiskey Business, Northeast Side. This is Pendleton Pike, everybody, Oak Landon. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots Thursday. Thank you for joining us. Pacers Bucks from last night of the aftermath. Jeremiah Johnson of Valley Sports, Indiana, just joined us. He was right there in the middle of it. Well, we did our Week 15 picks with Brent Holverson and Mike a moment ago, too. Evan Sidery as well a little bit earlier. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we've been talking about a lot of fun, exciting things so far today. And one incredible bummer is the fact that we lost a legend in the history of Indiana basketball. Really, from high school all the way through professional. And then after that, with the level of business acumen, relationships, personally built, just an incredibly gentle human being. George McGinnis passed away earlier today. And, you know, beyond talking about the Colts, which we'll get into in a second, Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 joins us. I know you've been a part of Central Indiana sports forever. There was, frankly, nobody like George McGinnis around here, and there hasn't been since.
No, we got together with Jake Query was there. We got together Tuesday at IREA's. We always do, and, you know, for David Benner and Robin and all this, and then we started talking basketball, and we were using, you know, who are the four Mount Rushmores of Indiana basketball, and it was the first three are easy. It's George, you know, Oscar, and Larry Bird. Then you can argue until you're blue in the face on number four. But George was, he could have been an everything tight end. As it turned out, we both graduated at the same time in '69. I think that's when George graduated. He was Mr. Basketball, and I was at Beech Grove, and we followed them sometimes. So in the tournament, we went, I think it was to Columbus, and they beat up on one of the Columbus schools was it George Faber and the other guy who was Newsom, Jerry Newsom, I think it was. But
yeah,
the thing that sticks with me, and it's incredible. Remember, he's Mr. Basketball, and they go down to Kentucky and they beat him, whatever. And George had, I don't know, 20 and 12, whatever the number. And all the Kentucky players and the media were like, who is this guy? I thought this guy was, you know, really, really good. They come back to Indy, and he dropped like 54 and 30 on them. And, that's George McGinnis. So just a truly, truly amazing player. And he wasn't Dr. J. He wasn't quite that. But he and Dr. J were sort of the driving force back then, ABA, NBA, and all that. So it's whenever I was doing some Pacer stuff for the Star, whatever, or that would have been for like the Anderson paper. He was just accessible. You know, I've dealt with him in the past for whatever, like, you know, later on for whatever reasons, and he was always there. Just a great person. I know he's been through some difficult things. I think with his back or something. But when you lose guys like that, you know, like when you lose Slick or whatever, it just makes you sort of pause, and then you remember all the why he was who he was and the impact he had. And George was the one thing I remember again is what the Star of the News. Somebody nicknamed him the Baby Bull, and he hated it. He thought it dehumanized him, but it was meant as praise. He was, like somebody mentioned, he was LeBron before LeBron, because he was just an unbelievable athlete who could have done a lot of things had it not been just a power forward in basketball.
Yeah, it's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 talking today about the passing of George McGinnis. Again, reported first released informationally by the Pacers late this morning, and we have been talking about that throughout the course of the afternoon as well. And, you know, you mentioned it professionally, ABA with the Pacers, that success, 1977 with Dr. J And the Sixers, they lose the NBA Finals to Portland, but still just an incredible season for him. And, ending up back with the Pacers. I think he closed out in Denver to close out his NBA career, but just an incredible guy and an incredible personality, too. I met him more than a handful of times, and nobody is nicer. I mean, just always just a really nice, engaging dude.
It was funny. One of the things about him being, it always goes about the athleticism and how he was put together. He would go through tennis shoes. They'd break on him because when he would cut with the force he had, they would tear. And since he wasn't a perfect person, but he was so cool. I'm a young guy at Anderson, and I come down for ABA game, and you get in the locker room. Of course, you got Slick. And Slick's locker rooms are, casual. And you go up to George, and he's on like his third beer, and probably he's a half a pack into the cigarettes. And this is an elite player who was able to do things that very few people could do. But when you lose people like that, it just sort of things are just not quite as good as they used to be. I don't want to overstate and all that, but the world was better with George McGinnis in it. It's not quite the same without him. I don't mean to hyperbole, but that's kind of how I look at it.
I'm assuming, will the Pacers wear some sort of commemorative patch, maybe a Big Mac or a 30 or something like that? I would assume they'd do something like that in his honor, right?
That's what you do, and that's one of those that the league says, now you can't do that. Well, you do it, and you pay the fine. I think that's done a lot. Whatever they do for George, it's worth it. The outpouring of tributes and sentiments that's when you know what kind of footprints. Of course, George left big footprints because George was a big guy. But when you get that, it just tells you the impact and the enormity of what you did. And it's always good to see when people, we've talked about is the great athleticism of what he could do. But then you always say, but man, he was such a great guy. He always had time for you. He was always pleasant. And that's where it's, we both know a lot of athletes who are not so much away from the field. This guy was the total package. And, best wishes to his family and dealing with it. But my goodness, he was a special person and a special player.
It's Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And again, our thoughts going out to George's family and, of course, the Pacers on that incredible loss of earlier today. Moving on now, get the Colts and the Steelers coming up on Saturday. And like we all thought earlier this week, no return for Braden Smith and no return for Jonathan Taylor. And I brought this up a couple of different times. And I know how people feel. I think there's any disappointment at all that Taylor chose to go with the surgery and not try to play this thing out. I'm not sure that it'd help a great deal. I guess him being a game-breaking player, you can suggest it could. But is there any disappointment, you think, over there because that was the choice and the missing of the time?
I don't think so, just because you say, well, it's just a thumb. Well, yeah, the guy carries the football. I remember when Marshall Faulk had a dislocated toe and people said, well, you can't play with that. No. So I think not. You'd certainly like, and again, he would make a difference. He's that quality of player. So no, maybe they're frustrated because you get him back and you're starting to get going, and then this happens. But I don't think he would have done this unless it was absolutely necessary. And this had to be his decision. You can't say, well, I want to get it operated on. And they say, no, we don't think so. Let's just tape it up. No, this is one where everybody's got to be on board. And I'm sure there's frustration. I don't know that it would go beyond that because it's a thumb and, ball security. Can you imagine him trying to play that? You tape it up and then he puts the ball on the ground twice because he can't secure the ball with his right hand. I think there's frustration, but I don't think there's any anger or what the hell you doing type of thing. We need you. I don't think so.
So must win against the Steelers coming up on Saturday, and coming off that disappointment, flatly, Cincinnati, even with a backup quarterback, was a much better team than they had played and beaten during that win streak. But what do you think about this Steeler team, mostly limping in here, but certainly getting somebody of significance back? Talking about T.J. Watt and T.J. Watt versus Jake Freeland a lot. Is that your anticipation for Saturday afternoon at Lucas Oil Stadium?
Yeah, they also get Alex Highsmith back there, so their top two edge rushers are playing. And this is one where if I'm the Colts, you know he's going to make 2 or 3 or 4 plays. Because he's that good. It's not that he's that much better than your guy, although he might be. But you want bad plays to be a sack and a 4-yard loss, and not a sack fumble, a sack scoop and score. Because I tell you, the Steelers' offense is historically bad. I saw a stat from one of these ESPN things or whatever, or Next Gen, whatever. They're averaging 16.2 points a game. That's the third lowest by a team with a winning record since in 40 years. So if that's the case and they're on their backup, don't give an awful offense a short field with a sack fumble or points. So it's he's going to make he's going to make plays, but just don't make them game changing. And then you just kind of solid up your game. Make your kicks. Quit having penalties on Zach Moss's 10-yard touchdown run. Although that was a bogus holding call on Quentin Nelson. But it's there for him. You've been using this must win for the last 10 years, and this one, I tell you, it is. This is. I kind of think this is an elimination game. I think certainly there's a path for the Colts to get there by losing with the schedule left Atlanta, the Raiders, and Houston. But think if they find a way to have won in Cincinnati, they're tied for first in the division. So you just can't say, but everybody else lost too. Well, you only got 4 games left. You can't keep kicking the can down the street and say, we'll make up for that next week, because before long there won't be more next weeks. So the silver lining is it's still there. I think if they go 3-1, they probably get in. And I could see them going 4-0, and I could see them not doing that, because they make it hard to have trust in the offense, in the pass rush, in the secondary. So when you're playing a substandard schedule and a backup quarterback, do better than you did last week in Cincinnati.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59, Whiskey Business, and we're on a Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots Thursday. Pendleton Pike is our location of Whiskey Business today. Southside, Southport Road Whiskey Business coming up on the show on a Bud Light Blue Friday tomorrow. Could you make as to the reason why Gus Bradley continued to play the way that they did and succumb to the usage over and over and over again of the screen game? It was funny. Late in the second, you thought, all right, Jake Browning, that pick 6 from Ronnie Harrison Jr., you thought maybe that got to the backup quarterback of the Bengals. They go to the half tied, and the Bengals come right back out and reestablish what they were doing with that screen game, and the Colts just couldn't do anything to it. What'd you make of the defensive effort both from the coaching staff and the personnel this past Sunday?
They just didn't execute well, getting into my coach speak. And on the first one, the 54-yard touchdown, probably should have called a block in the back against Kenny Moore. So it would have been a nothing. But giving up 3 plays for 20-some yards, it's just crippling. And whether that's not being disciplined on the outside, whether that's your linebackers taking bad. I thought maybe on one of them Zaire took a bad angle, but I'd have to go back and look at it. There was so much, bad stuff to kind of pour over. But that just shows you how 3 plays. You never know, but 3 plays really, really crippled this defense. These guys aren't good enough to do that. They aren't good enough to have Bernhard Raimann, who I wrote about today on our website. That was his worst game of the year, by far, and these guys aren't good enough to overcome that. It's crazy how all season they've kind of been getting by the old complimentary football. Everybody's doing something to help it. Well, that game, everybody did something to lose it. I thought Gardner Minshew, as much as we and I have been critical of him, he really didn't have all that much to do with those guys getting punked in Cincinnati. But it goes back to the fact that these guys, in whatever area you want to talk about, they have deficiencies and they have things that they have to be so on point to succeed. And when they don't, we saw that. And how many times during the Chuck Pagano era, twice a season, that they just got boat raced. And fortunately for this team, somehow that's not been the case. Every team has a clunker. But let's not forget Denver gave up 70 for crying out loud to Miami, and right now they're playing pretty well. So it's the old cliche about, boy, you picked a bad time to have a bad game, and the schedule does not afford you to have another bad game. If you're going to get beat, have somebody make plays that they were just better than you. I'm not convinced the Bengals are better than the Colts the way these two teams are playing, but that day they did enough right, and the Colts did so much wrong. Again, I went back and looked. I think Matt Kay, he misses 2 kicks. The last time he missed 2 kicks in a game, he was a rookie in Tampa. So it was just an awful game. You move on, and the ramifications of Saturday against a team that, oh, by the way, you're like 6-26 against all time. It's just huge. It's just huge.
Do we know Tony Sperano Jr. and company, how they plan? How do you think they plan on handling, you mentioned Highsmith off the edge, but certainly the one that we can highlight more so than anybody else is T.J. Watt. How they plan on handling that?
Oh, I imagine we're going to see a lot of Mo Ali Cox playing right tackle, extended. These guys, what you do as a coaching staff is you cover up, I don't want to say weaknesses, because I think Blake Freedom's played pretty well, but you don't leave him out there one-on-one, and then you say after the game, well, I guess we shouldn't have done that. No, I mean, they're going to give him help because you'd give they'd probably give Braden Smith help. Maybe not, certainly not as much, but you just, like Venturi and I, we always talk, and Rich, when he talks with you guys, there are certain guys you say, this guy won't beat us, whether it's the receiver, the running back, or whatever, or the end. Make somebody else, and maybe Alex Highsmith has 3 seconds. I don't know. But just make darn sure that T.J. Watt doesn't have 3 sacks or 2 sacks and a strip fumble. I mean, they did this with J.J. Watt in Houston, and there were a couple of times when they leave a tight end to block him. And then he toasts your tight end, and you say, well, I guess we shouldn't have done that. No kidding. We're going to see a lot of help, chipping, get him off his game to where he's just not, point A to point B, because that's the way you do it. And I'm telling you, if there will be 10 plays when T.J. Watt's not on the field, the Colts will tell everybody, hey, 90's off the field, and maybe you try things. That's when you try if the situation allows. But you just can't let this guy wreck your game. That means an extra tight end. That may mean quicker passes, and it may be harder to get the ball down the field. But that's the price you pay. Because to think, well, this time we think that this guy can block that guy, so we're going to take our shot down the field. That's when the play gets blown up, and you think, well, I shouldn't have done that. So they'll know where he is, yet still he will make plays. Those special players with attention, they still make plays. Just don't make them, god-awful plays. Make them just bad plays.
Hey, Mike, before I let you go here, the run offense has been non-existent, and it's not just because the loss of Jonathan Taylor. Where do you place a lot of the criticism/blame for that? Is that along the offensive line at times? Is it Zach Moss maybe, hitting that collective wall where he is right now with carries? Why Why has the run game that thrived earlier, even without Jonathan Taylor, why is it basically non-existent right now?
I just think the offensive line isn't giving quite the push and the gaps or the seams that they have. You know, people think this has been the last 2 games. No, it's been 4 of the last 5. And that, you know, because they had the 155 against Tampa, but the 2 games prior, they didn't do much. In 4 of those games, they're averaging 62 yards a game and like 2.6. And that's 2 of those games with Taylor. So and then it's getting behind the sticks. It's a first down sack, so it's 2nd and 15, or a penalty and it's 2nd and 20, and then it's hard. But they've got to run the ball. I mean, and Pittsburgh's really, really good against the run, but you still have to at least have the threat. And if you throw 40 times against the Steelers, you're going to lose. I mean, maybe they prove me wrong, but throwing the ball 40 times against these guys, you're just giving T.J. Watt and Highsmith more chances to blow up a game. They've got to get something. I'm not saying 150 yards from the run game, but they've got to get something to where, you know, it's second and 4, and you're keeping these guys honest. And we've seen Zach Moss do that. He's had games. I don't think he's hitting a wall because he's not been overworked with Taylor coming back until recently. So you got to find a way. I think this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be tough sledding. It's going to be ugly. Just don't make that 1 or 2 plays that just this team can't overcome. Get up 13-0, get up 17-3, and then just play Dean Smith 4 corners and get out of there with a win, and then you're in pretty good shape.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And, Mike, I appreciate it, as always, with the Colts conversation, too, every Thursday. But what you added regarding covering and certainly following for the better part of your existence, that of the playing career and just the personal existence of George McGinnis, I appreciate that. Because obviously,
who was their guard? Yeah. It was McGinnis and Downing, and it wasn't Pack, was it? Who was the guard? I can't remember their guard on those teams.
I think it wasn't Pack.
Maybe it was. Maybe that's what I'm saying. It might have been. Yeah. I remember that state final where it was 3 unbeaten teams, and Gary Tolson had 1 loss out of state. It was just an amazing, amazing time, and George was right in the middle of it. God love him.
Yeah, and you think, once you go through the ABA, and they get your chance, the NBA, and and the one-handed shot. The one-handed shot. How many coaches out there would try to correct that immediately now?
And George would say, "I think I'm good. I'll keep doing this." What a great player. Just a great player. My goodness.
I so much wanted to go out in my outbuilding. I got a bunch of old basketball cards out there and look through them because I have a ton of George McGinnis cards. The ones that are really large. Remember the really big ones from the early 70s? I have a lot of those out there. So.
Yep. Again, like I said, the world's just a little bit less because George isn't with us.
No doubt. Mike, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Later.
To Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. Hey, we're here, Whiskey Business off of Pendleton Pike. Where's Jimmy? Long time no see for Jimmy. Bill is here. Paul is here. Jay is here. Tomorrow, Whiskey Business, but we're going to be on the south side. So Southsiders are coming at you. That's I-65 and the Southport exit right there behind the Chick-fil-A. Whiskey Business Southside on a Bud Light Blue Friday. I've got tickets for you. Colts and Steelers. That is coming up on Saturday, too. Hey, speaking of tickets, too, James, let's do this as we hit a break. 239-1070. If you want to go to the bullseyeofintgroup.com, Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Get your chance right here. Number 9 is going to go on me. It's all you can eat, all you can drink. DJ Skids will be a part of it. Remember, that's 2 hours prior to the start of the game at 4:30. So 2:30, that's underway. Trying to think. Wait a minute, I think I go on at 12:30. Actually, maybe it's 1:30. I go on at 12:30 for the ride to kick off. But we'll be good to go. You want to go, number 9 at 239-1070 for the pregame party anywhere with bullseyeofintgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. Presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Number 9 is a winner. at 239-1070. Back on the other side, and speaking of George McGinnis and the ABA, I think Tyrone is here to give us a little insight regarding the ABA, both old school and new school. We'll do that. Brett Halverson rejoins and more. Whiskey Business, Pendleton Pike on a Thursday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Terry Stacy for Cynthia's Hallmark, where toy shopping this holiday season is really fun. All 4 stores have a big selection of just the right toys for all ages of kids, starting with the popular Follow bracelets. These bracelets let you track a wildlife animal.
Hi, welcome back. Whiskey Business on a Larceny Bourbon Long Saloon Azul Tequila Shots Thursday. Pendleton Pike, Paul, that's our location. James Studio, Dev's here with me. Brent Holverson rejoins busy show. Pacers Bucks last night, and I gave you off the top and then throughout the show my opinion on a double-digit loss and an embarrassing defensive performance. But what was the bright side, which was significant, that took place after the game? Actually, it did take place throughout the game, but it was magnified after the game. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Evan Sidery rejoins us, too. We had a little trouble, I think, with his line back at the 3 o'clock hour. Evan Sidery of Forbes NBA coverage has his own column, Substack at substack.com. He does join us. You know, I'd mentioned this, and I think you were trying to answer, but we couldn't hear you. You know, besides, you know, the Toronto players, whether it's Anunoby or Siakam, is there anything else mentioned out there that the Pacers may end up doing? And we also should make sure that everybody's reminded that James Johnson, the longtime NBA veteran, was signed by the Pacers earlier today, which I don't know if that's, you know, something that you can attribute to what happened last night or just an extreme coincidence, but whatever the case, an interesting signing for the Pacers today.
Yeah, certainly so. And James Johnson, more so ironic timing last night, John, after what happened there with Giannis and Bobby Portis and everything. But now I have a very hard time seeing Giannis and Bobby Portis going at a lot of Pacers players if James Johnson is now on this roster, because he's a black belt. He's known as one of the more intimidating players in the NBA. So that's a good little counter move by the Pacers they did today, signing James Johnson for what happened there. But I do think if you're looking for an outside enforcer to come in here and kind of be your wing defender, like we mentioned earlier, probably one of the two Toronto guys in Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby. And then when you think outside of that, there's really not many defense-first guys that could be potentially available. You can see Kyle Kuzma in Washington, but he's more so of a scorer. So Lauri Markkanen would be a really, really good fit offensively, but defensively, he certainly isn't that kind of player. Maybe Alex Caruso in Chicago. I know the Bulls are going to be probably blowing that up here soon with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Maybe Caruso could come in here and be a lockdown guard off the bench to put next to TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard. That could be a really intriguing fit, in my opinion. I think if you're looking as far as a guy can come in here and defend the likes of the best wings in the East, and Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Giannis, I think you probably have to go toward Toronto and try to get one of Siakam or Anunoby. I think Anunoby definitely is a lot better defender than Pascal Siakam. Siakam gives you a lot more on the offensive end. But I would definitely look towards Toronto here in the next couple months here and see if they can get a deal done.
Evan Sidery, a couple more things. We have him back here for the 3 o'clock hour. We had some phone difficulties there, but we are locked and loaded and loud and clear right now. So Bobby Marks of ESPN mentioned Paul George to me yesterday. Does that make any sense to you, that return?
Yeah, I think it does actually a little bit. And this is something we maybe talked about in the summer, because when you look at this a little further, that Clippers team, they're doing fantastic right now. They got off to a really slow start with James Harden after that trade happened, but James Harden now is really settled into his role for the Clippers, and they've been fantastic. That starting lineup has been so far. I think Paul George, we all know he's from California. He forced his way out of Indiana in the first place to originally want to go to Los Angeles. I have a hard time seeing Paul George leaving his home state again, if that means potentially he goes back to Indiana and plays a second fiddle role. I think the one thing that's maybe holding me back from Paul George a little bit is his age. He's going to be 34 years old next season, going to be 35 the year after that. Does he really fit alongside Tyrese Halliburton? He certainly does short-term for a 2-3 year window, but long-term, he'll be 35, 36 years old at the end of that contract. Won't be a really good contract to look back on there. But if you're truly in win-now mode, and Tyrese Halliburton certainly seems like he wants to be in win-now mode, Paul George kind of is that perfect guy where he's a great shooter, great defender. I think that the implications are, does Paul George want to leave L.A. and go back to Indiana? I think that's the big question here. But as far as on-court fit, I think he'd be fantastic, honestly.
Mikal Bridges is another one that's kind of been mentioned, not too much. Does that make any sense for you, the Brooklyn swing guy?
Yeah, Mikal, I think, is the dream target. I actually covered him throughout his career in Phoenix when I was out there, and he's a fantastic, fantastic player, a culture setter in that locker room, elite defender, sharpshooter from three-point range. With the way he's playing for Brooklyn right now, he's really blossoming into an all-star level player. I have a hard time seeing Brooklyn ever trading Mikal Bridges unless it is truly for a superstar level player in return. I have a hard time seeing them ever selling off on Mikal Bridges, so to say. So I'd probably say it's a lower chance on Mikal Bridges. I think one name that could make some sense this summer, if they do kind of sputter here a little bit and they continue to not really make that huge leap forward like many teams expected to, it's New Orleans with Brandon Ingram. I think it's a really intriguing name to watch out for this summer is Brandon Ingram. He's 26 years old. He's right in that timeline age of this team. He's a 25-point-per-game scorer, all-star level player. I think he'd be a fantastic fit next to Tyrese Halliburton on the wing there. Defensively is a serious question for Brandon Ingram, but if you want to add in a true star-level number 2 option, there might not be a lot of better options out there than Brandon Ingram if you could get him with Tyrese Halliburton.
Hey, before I let you go, one more thing. Would P.J. Tucker have made any sense for you with this team?
Maybe a little bit, but now I think, honestly, James Johnson is kind of that P.J. Tucker player for this team. And P.J. Tucker, he's kind of, I would respectfully say, he's probably 2-3 years past his prime. He's at this point, he's not really the player he was a couple of years ago. He's really struggling right now at the Clippers to get any rotation nets. It just seems like he's kind of fallen off a cliff athletically the last couple years there, and especially on defensive end, he's not the same player there. If you want to get a true veteran leader in the locker room, if he's bought up by the Clippers, so to say, that can make some sense. But I think James Johnson kind of might already fill that void for them with just his continuity already in the team.
What are you writing about?
I'm going to be writing about, John, this Pacers team and what they can do at the deadline. December 15th is tomorrow, which is the official start date of trade season. A lot of teams around the NBA, all those contracts that were signed this past offseason, they are now going to be officially eligible to be traded. I believe 75% of those contracts that were signed are. So it's going to be me diving into some teams that make sense on the trade market for the Pacers, probably talk about the Toronto players in Siakam and OG Anunoby. And also, I really think this Pacers team might, looking ahead to the summer a little bit, I think they're going to be one of the more intriguing teams to watch out for. So I just think building and putting the right piece around Tyrese Halliburton is what I'm looking forward to long term here. So I'm going to be diving into all of that.
Hey, Evan, I apologize for the phone issues we had back in the 3 o'clock hour. Thank you for making time and into the conversation with us with these tidbits of information, man. We always appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. No problem at all. Anytime you need me. Appreciate it, John.
Evan Sidery, Forbes covers the NBA, got his own column at substack.com. Evan Sidery, talking NBA and the Pacers specifically from last night and then some on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You know, it's kind of interesting here. He broadcasts live from Whiskey Business. We had the bad news today, the passing of George McGinnis. Of course, made so much out of his ABA career before he went to the NBA. And the ABA still exists. In fact, Indiana Lions, that's a team. Tyrone Brown is the owner and CEO. Tyrone joins us now and actually brought me some stuff here too, Tyrone. I appreciate that. I've always been a big fan of the red, white, and blue basketball. But if you will, on this day that is so significant because of the passing and the legacy of George McGinnis, a little bit about what you represent as far as your team in the ABA and the ABA of the past, what you guys try to reach back for in terms of making sure everybody knows how significant it was.
Well, first of all, we want to say send our condolences to the McGinnis family, and so the biggest thing that we wanted to do was they were pillars to us, and so growing up watching the ABA and McGinnis and Dr. J, when we had a chance, my wife and I, to have ownership into the ABA, you know, we purchased a franchise, and then we wanted to give young men second and third opportunities to continue playing. The ABA was the standard back in the day. And so a lot of the young guys really don't know the significance of it, but we wanted to bring that opportunity back to the state of Indiana, where the Pacers were one of the original teams.
How long has this team been?
The Lions have been
operating
in existence for 6 years, and we are defending champions. But the ABA came back around 20 years ago, and it came back in a minor league capacity.
Yeah.
And so it gives us an opportunity to showcase the talent that is in the state of Indiana.
Tyrone Brown of the Indiana Lions, who's the owner and CEO. What do you guys play out of?
We are playing some of our games at George Washington High School.
Nice.
The former high school of George
Yes,
and
right.
we also play in Hendricks County, Danville.
Wow. So what players, what level of players?
I have D1, D2. I have overseas guys. I have guys who went overseas and come back. I have guys that still has inspiration to get overseas. So our goal is to put them in position that they can be looked at by higher level scouts, etc.
So let's just say the general age of your team?
Is you have to be 18 and out of high school.
18 and out of high school. And how do you end up finding these players? Are a lot of them from around here, or are there a lot of them
You got some guys that went to Pike High School, Lawrence High School, and you got some guys that came from different locations, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. to continue playing.
Yeah.
Because what we did, we tried to set an example of a great organization with an opportunity to continue playing. And so a lot of the guys look, they look on social media, they look at what the Lions is doing, they look at our success over the last 6 years, and so now they're coming aboard and saying, hey, we want to be a part of that.
You brought a shirt here, too, by the way. It's Tyrone Brown of the Indiana Lions, the ABA team in operation right now, celebrating 50 years from 2023 going back to 1973. And you have the Pacers of 1973.
Yes.
And the names on that roster documented with George McGinnis,
Yes.
who passed away today, one of those, along with the late Mel Daniels, the late Roger Brown is a part of that. Slick Leonard was the coach. Don Boozy was there. Billy Keller was there. Just so many, Freddie Lewis, name recognizable guys. You guys love to embrace, don't
Yes.
you? The ABA. And sometimes it makes me wonder if it goes back too far for the younger generation to catch a grasp. But it seems like you're trying to teach them that when they get with you.
We're trying to go and show how it started. And so when you go back to the beginning and you get guys and you get your organization to see the work that was done prior to them playing in this ABA, it was a privilege for us to go back and give homage to the guys who have already come before us. So that shirt you have is a 50-year anniversary shirt, and to say that, hey, you can be champions too. It's not always the NBA. There's another league called the ABA that's giving guys opportunities to continue playing.
I always tell people you play, and this is including overseas too, but I said you play until they tell you can't.
Exactly.
Because, it's fun. I love playing basketball. I play all the time. I love playing pickup. But, you play if they pay you and continue to do it as long as they can. Hey, when can people start watching you play, Tyrone, this year too?
They can come out to George Washington this Saturday. At 5 p.m.
5.
We're playing the Clarksville Phoenix team. They just had a tornado. And so we're giving back to them in terms of gift cards and for the kids who don't have
Clarksville, Tennessee, right?
That's
what
Clarksville, Tennessee. And we also have one of our players, Eric Messer, that's from Clarksville, Tennessee. So it's really a homecoming for him and his family. But it also says that we want to give back to the folks who came through this tornado and say for the kids, hey, here in Indianapolis, we do care and we want to support you in any kind of way we can.
Nothing quite like the old ABA ball,
Nothing
the old
like
red, white, and blue.
Nothing like
Nothing can tell you exactly how bad your rotation is or how great your rotation is.
That is
like
true.
The red, white, and blue of the ABA right here. Tyrone Brown, the Indiana Lions, again this Saturday at Washington High School. They're off of Washington Street. Washington High School off of Washington Street. That is coming up on Saturday once again to help the folks in Clarksville, Tennessee, and certainly introduce folks to the ABA and a lot of players that you certainly have grown accustomed to knowing around here playing that too. Man, it's great to meet you, Tyrone. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for the invite.
Tyrone, right? Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Come out anytime. Tyrone Brown of the Indiana Lions. And on a day, which I think is incredibly appropriate, we talk about his team in the ABA and intertwine that with the passing of an ABA, an NBA, and an Indiana legend, and that of George McGinnis. Whiskey Business, Northeast Side, Pendleton Pike. Quick break, we'll come back. Brent Halverson rejoins tomorrow at Whiskey Business on the South Side. Bud Light Blue Friday, your chance to steal Steelers Colts tickets tomorrow. Talk about that and a lot more with you. We'll close out the show coming up next.
Spoiled supermarket meat, sawdust like fillers, artificial preservatives?
Ho, ho, hold on there. I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. You don't want your dog eating any of that. These potentially harmful ingredients are found in many of today's popular dog foods, but not in Nature's Blend. They freeze-dried raw...
MPD's hanging out here. It's good to see you, my man. Thanks for coming out here. Got pictures of Big Mac right there. The passing of George McGinnis. We talked about that today, and certainly shed a lot of light on that. I love talking to. We just talked to Tyrone, who's got an ABA team that's playing over at Washington High School. That's appropriate for the now because they're also teaching the past with the present with that group, and I think that's incredibly cool. The celebration of 50 years. But Mike Chappell joined us earlier in the hour, and somebody that has covered the career of George McGinnis. And I know a lot of you, maybe you're too young to have a significant memory about it, but when they say that he was LeBron James in terms of his build before LeBron James, they're 100% accurate. It's exactly the way that George McGinnis looked. And then you factor in that he's just simply put one of the nicest guys of all time right there. He is going to be significantly missed in the passing of George McGinnis earlier today. And, of course, we discussed that and a lot more for you. Hey, Brent, come over here really quick. I got to get Brent Halverson back on here. I sent him over there for a sample. We got to get Brent back over here before we end up closing out the show. I'd hate to leave him out of here. Our next Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila shots for Week 16, Britain Tavern. Either Noblesville or Fishers. I can never remember if they call it Noblesville or Fishers at Britain Tavern. That's my bad right there. I sent you off for a sample. And we got to end up rolling. Britain Tavern, is that Noblesville or Fishers next week?
That is actually technically Fishers by about a block and a half.
Fishersville or Nobles? Nobles.
Fishersville. I like that. No, it's 141st and 37 right there.
Gotcha.
And I think 146 is where that Noblesville line crosses. So just south of the Noblesville city limits there.
Thank you for hooking up Matt with the samples. We've had a lot of people with great samples, and a shout out to Litzy. Litzy brought us
you see those
some
amazing.
awesome
Isn't
Christmas
that awesome?
gifts.
It really is. What a guy.
The Mystic Waters Campground book that he got you.
Pretty special.
My goodness.
Really special. I mean, it's just, and again, we got Mr. Burton here, and the people that come out and join us, John. I mean, we're honored to be able to do this. And
I drop Phil Burton's name all the time when I'm in trouble downtown. I go, hey, Phil Burton says I'm okay to turn left on red.
Hey, you can if it's a one-way, so maybe you found the right way there. So.
Yeah, that's okay. Phil Burton said I could do that. It's all good. So, yeah. Well, we know. We love Phil Burton. And especially when we come to the Northeast side, we see Phil all the time. Obviously, Jimmy and Bill and Paul and Jay's here, too.
Great crew,
table.
Right?
Yeah.
Great crew of people to come out.
Litzy's got Jess over there. Now, I did not see – normally we see Laurel up here. And I'm reminded of Laurel because Nally, our friend Ryan Nally, I believe, just had surgery.
He did.
Yesterday.
He had surgery yesterday. He's doing great. I was kind of texting with him yesterday and today. So he's just in recovery. Hopes to be out Friday or Saturday. He's got a couple weeks at home, and then he'll be back on the mend. But, yeah, Laurel, I wish we would have seen Laurel. She lives right down the road,
This is like Laurel's home base besides, the other locations that we're talking about.
Right.
Every time I come here, I think I see Laurel.
Yep, she's a busy lady too, though. So she's probably out and about and spreading some Christmas cheer since it's right around the corner.
Yep. Is the music playing in the background there, James? Did I hear that accurately? Oh, you don't either. See, I'm going to get my hearing checked. I thought I heard music back there. My bad.
I did actually too, John.
I broke up the continuity of the show right there, listening for music that wasn't being played right here. So Britain Tavern coming up Week 16. That is next week.
Week 16. Can you believe that? Week 16 already.
Yeah.
We've got 4 weeks of football left until we're talking playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a pretty good run down the stretch. So Britain Tavern next week. Then after that, we're going to be at Taylor's in Nora.
Yeah.
On December 28th.
Yep.
And then to wrap up the regular season, we'll be at Crafters in Carmel. So we're going to have some playoff locations coming up,
I haven't been to Crafters in a while either. That's awesome.
It's been a while for myself, too. So
I was thinking about this, too. We've got our tavern tour stops that are going to fire up into this month and then for 2024 again, too.
24 is all set, and there's some special ones on there, too, John. It really is. There's some really, really fun places. A lot of them that we've talked about going to. That are on there, so we'll start digging into that, kick off the new year right.
And one in particular where the first one ever we did, And it goes down in history as maybe the best one right there, considering how many people showed up, right?
It does. It does. We will. That is the only repeat on the Tavern Tour.
It is, yeah.
And we had to go back. We have to go back there. And that's mid-year next year, I think. So, but no, there's some good stuff going on. I'm looking forward to it. It's it's and again, looking to have everybody come out and join us. Have some great samples, some great camaraderie. Hey, holiday season's here, my friend. It's always a pleasure.
There's the music right there.
I'm hearing it,
You're
so I'm
telling me.
Trying to stop it.
Hey, James, I know you've been battling back there today. Job well done. Out of James. Dev, thank you, my brother. Appreciate that. Hey, tomorrow's show, we're at Whiskey Business, Southside, Southport Road on a Bud Light Blue Friday. I've got Steelers Colts tickets tomorrow, so hopefully we'll see you all down there. Brent Halverson right there, everybody, our betting analyst. Job well done as always, man.
Thank you, my friend. Pleasure.
Great time here at Whiskey Business off of Pendleton Pike. Hey, more of the Pacers. They get set for the Wizards coming up tomorrow. We'll preview that and get you set for a busy sports weekend, including the Steelers and the Colts on Saturday, Indiana State, Ball State, Purdue, Arizona, the Indy Classic on Saturday. That and more live on the South Side, Southport Road tomorrow. Whiskey Business on a Bud Light Blue Friday. I cannot wait to see you. Inside the Lounge via YouTube Live, thank you for hanging. Thank you all for listening. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.
Hellsberg Diamonds presents Great Wedding Speeches.
Put your hands together for the father of the bride.
Kara, honey. Boy, am I proud of the woman you've become. And Craig, my man, my brosa. When Kara first introduced us to Craig, boy, I knew he was the one right away. He tells the greatest jokes, he smokes a killer brisket, and he knows what team to root for, don't you, buddy? Whoop, whoop. So, when he proposed to Kara with that